Lucas Oil Stadium. Third season for the Colts here. Jim Caldwell, we talked about Collie. He's out tonight. Third time in 5 games. Eldridge, the rookie tight end, Adai misses his 5th straight game. 2 big losses at linebacker. Gary Brackett in the middle and Clint Session. And Bob Sanders, they hope to get him back. They have kept him on the active list and hope he can play in December. For Norv tonight, Norv Turner, Ryan Matthews was their #1 pick. He is out again at running back. Vasquez, the guard, is also out. So just 2 starters missing tonight for the Chargers. Nate Kading will kick off. Brandon James will run it back. The Colts have used 7 different guys to run back kicks. There's Jeff Saturday with the offense ready to come out, with Indianapolis winning the toss and electing to receive. And off we go from Indy with Brandon James from the 5-yard line. Taken down at the 22-yard line. Pat Watkins makes the tackle. And let's take a look at the Indianapolis starters.
Peyton Manning, University of Tennessee.
Donald Brown, UConn.
Reggie Wayne, the U. Pierre Garçon, Mount Union.
Gian Robinson, Missouri Western State University.
Jacob Tammey, University of Kentucky.
Charlie Johnson, Oklahoma State.
Kyle DeVan, Oregon State University.
Jeff Saturday, North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Jeff Lincolnbach, Cincinnati.
Ryan Dean, Northern Illinois.
Keep an eye on the right guard, Lincolnbach, a rookie out of Cincinnati. Had some problems last week. From the 22-yard line, Manning starts with a throw to Tammey, and Jacob Tammey, the tight end, the guy who is taking the place of Dallas Clark, makes the catch. He's tackled there by Dante Hughes. Peyton Manning in the first 10 games, 43.8 passes, so he is on a pace right now to set the all-time National Football League record for most passes in a season, which is held by Drew Bledsoe. 2nd and 5, and that tells you a lot about the Indianapolis attack, especially in the absence of #1 running back Joseph Adai. 2nd and 5. They fake it to Brown, and Manning will throw to Brown, and he makes the catch, stays inbounds, and picks up a 1st down. Applewhite and Oliver in on the stop.
You know, it's interesting talking with Stephen Cooper, the linebacker. One of their big plans here is that they are going to show Peyton Manning something and then walk back out of it and give him something else. Well, that time they showed him that little A-gap blitz and gave it to him, and Peyton took advantage of it.
Manning has started with 2 passes. Now to the ground they go, and this is Brown, #1 pick out of Connecticut. Donald Brown in his 2nd year, stopped there by Sean Phillips. Brown was on the inactive list for a couple of games earlier in the season, and now, of course, he has to do a lot of the heavy lifting. Mike Hart is also hurt. They have Javaris James in the backfield. But again, with Indianapolis, it's about passing. 2nd down and 7. Hart's been hurt, but he is active tonight. We'll see him from time to time. Flag is thrown. First one of the game, and the catch is made by Brown. And he'll be stopped up at about the 46-yard line. Al Riveron is the referee tonight, and he'll give us the call.
Offside, number 95. Defense, 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
Sean Phillips. Ron Rivera is the San Diego defensive coordinator, and San Diego is #1 in the league in defense, meaning they have allowed the fewest yards. #1 in offense, meaning they have the most yards. And of course, if you're #1 in both categories, you say, well, this team should be 9-1 or 10-0. But they're 5-5 because of special teams and some ill-timed turnovers too. 2nd and 2.
I got it.
And Manning will throw, and it's caught by Brown. So a heavy dose of Brown early on, and he has the ball in San Diego territory. They'll spot it at the 39, a gain of 16, 1st down.
Well, one of the things you have when you have Donald Brown is you have a very good receiver. What they give up with Joseph Adai is a guy that A, is a better pass protector, and B, a better runner. So now against this #1 ranked defense, you can almost see already that Peyton Manning saying, the heck with that running game, let's just come out and throw it.
Javaris James now comes in, a rookie out of Miami. And Manning gives it to him immediately, and he gets stacked up as he reaches the line of scrimmage. It's the nose tackle, Antonio Garay, making the tackle.
Well, here's why you can't run the football. Watch Antonio Garay right here. And to me, this is one of the big surprises of this football team, taking on the double team inside. And if you were privileged to watch that Patriots game a week ago, you saw the Patriots stuff this running game. And so far, the Chargers are doing the same.
2nd and 9 from the 39. 4-man rush, pump fake, going deep into double coverage, and it's incomplete. Eric Weddle got a hand on it. It's incomplete. Pass intended for Reggie Wayne, who almost always works the left side, as is the case here.
And is going to get double coverage tonight. I mean, we already know that. Just before the snap of the ball, Eric Weddle worked his way to Reggie Wayne's side, and they simply are not going to give that away. I mean, it's going to be Pierre Garçon, it's going to be Jacob Tammy. It is not going to be Reggie Wayne on those throws.
Wayne almost always lining up left and Garçon to the right, as is the case here. On 3rd down and 9, running it out and making the catch before he steps out of bounds is Pierre Garçon. 27-yard line and a 1st down.
Well, Quentin Jammer is one of those guys that I think typically the cornerback here, he likes to get up in the receiver's face, and sometimes when you get a guy like Pierre Garçon out there, you got to give him just a little bit more space, and they're paying a lot of attention to Sean Phillips on the outside, their top pass rusher.
Manning has started the game 4 of 5, and now to the ground, and over right guard goes Brown. He gets stopped at the 22-yard line after a gain of 6. Phillip Rivers waiting his turn as the Colts on this drive have moved the ball from their own 22.
Well, you see a 6-man front up there, so basically what the Colts are doing, they're giving up on the concept of coming out and trying to overpower the Chargers. So the way they're going to run the football is spread them all out, try and get the nickel in there, get that extra defensive back, and then take their shot running the football instead of trying to be too big and strong up front.
This is a little bit of news. The Colts just had a huddle of sorts. 2nd down and 5. Manning throws over the middle. Caught on the run by Wayne. Right over the middle. Takes it down inside the 10. It'll be 1st down and goal.
Now they're trying to trade it off inside as Reggie Wayne goes across. He was supposed to be picked up by the inside linebacker. But for Stephen Cooper, that's just a little bit too much. Kevin Burnett may be in that kind of coverage, who's a little quicker guy, but for Cooper, that's a tough assignment.
Chargers have seen this before against Denver last week. The Broncos moved down the field with alacrity to take a 7-0 lead, but that was about it for Denver. 1st down and goal. Here goes Brown, and he gets about half the distance, making it 2nd down and goal.
The one thing the Colts did talk about, though, was even though they didn't have success, and I think at halftime against the Patriots last week, they had 10 carries for 9 yards, and yet they stayed with it because they have to keep the attention of those linebackers. They can't let them just fall into coverage all the time, so you'll see them pound away inside.
You saw Clyde Christensen, the offensive coordinator, taking over for Tom Moore, who's still on the staff, but has the emeritus status, and that pass is knocked away, and that is Cooper right there. Cooper covering Garçon over the middle. It'll be 3rd down and goal.
Well, Stephen Cooper, he feels like he has some idea of what's going on with Peyton. He has some secret buzzwords that he thinks he understands what Peyton's trying to do. He had a little help from his friends from Tennessee who played him all the time back in the day. So he has some clue what's happening out there with these audibles.
12th play of the opening drive. And Manning stepping up and throwing, and it's caught by Tammy. Touchdown.
Jacob Tammy's just going to go across this way, and it's really just a zone defense. Nobody really has him. You just sort of pick him up when he comes into your zone, and Peyton Manning just waits for him to get in that little gap and finds the drive, and he did exactly what he's been doing in the past. This is the #1 defense, and they just got gouged.
Tammy caught 2 passes on the drive, which is 3rd touchdown of the season. Vinatieri for the point after. So Manning leads them to the end zone on the opening drive, and it's 7-0 Indianapolis. Kicking off will be Pat McAfee, who doubles as their punter. Darren Sproles will run it back from the goal line. Out past the 20, breaking the tackle. And then Sproles gets taken down up at the 30-yard line and a flag down. Might have been a face mask at the end of the play. Philip Wheeler came in for the tackle and may have grabbed him.
Personal foul, face mask on the kicking team. 15-yard penalty from the end of the run. Automatic first down.
And so Rivers will start out at the 45-yard line when we come back. Last two games at Houston and then Denver in San Diego. Good numbers for Rivers, who didn't have Antonio Gates in either of those games. He's back tonight. Hasn't had Vincent Jackson all season because of a contract dispute. He's back. Double tight end set. That's McMichael coming in motion, and Rivers starts from the gun with a fake handoff, and then Manet, who's also been hurt. He's been inactive, but back tonight, gain of 5. Let's take a look at the San Diego starters.
Philip Rivers, NC State.
Darren Sproles, Kansas State.
Jacob Hester, LSU. Vincent Jackson, Northern Colorado.
Legadou Nene, Boise State. Antonio Gates, Detroit Central High School.
Marcus McNeil, Auburn.
Chris Dillman, Indiana.
Nick Hardwick, Purdue.
Tyrell Green, Auburn.
Jeremy Clary, Kansas State University.
Chargers line up with two backs. They and the Dolphins do it more than any teams in the league. And Rivers will look underneath and throw, and it's caught by Jacob Hester. And Hester battling a foot ailment, and he was a game-time decision. Is able to get to the 43 for a first down.
It's kind of interesting here. The San Diego Chargers typically don't give their tackles a lot of help, even against these great pass rushers on the outside, Dwight Freeney and Robert Mathis. But you could see on this play, both sides had a little help. Maybe they're just wanting to get the tackles settled in here a little bit before they cut them loose on those two guys.
1st and 10, the ball is at the 42-yard line. And again out of a two-back. And they give the ball this time to Mike Tolbert, who had a big night against Denver. You've got Hester leading the way. Ryan Matthews is their lead runner. He was their #1 draft choice out of Fresno State, but he's been hurt. And Tolbert really picked up the slack last Monday.
Yeah, and I think they're going to attack this guy right here, Cavell Connor. He's a young player in there, along with Pat Angler, who are filling in for Clint Session and Gary Brackett. And they're just going to make sure that he can handle the run. And the Indianapolis Colts feel like this San Diego Chargers offensive line is the best they've faced all season long.
That's a Colt defense that's yielding 5 yards per carry this season. Off the fake. Rivers has to throw underneath, and that's caught by Tolbert, and he gets it to the 29-yard line. So Phillip goes back off the play fake, buys time. Secondary does its work and finds the man underneath for the first.
I tell you, it's going to be interesting to watch Antonio Gates working right out here on the outside tonight. Is he going to be able to run? He has a turf toe on one foot. He has plantar fasciitis on the other, but he just can draw so much attention from the defense. If he can move at all, he's going to open things for other guys. That didn't look so great there.
That is a bad Quinella. 1st and 10, the ball is at the 28-yard line. 6.5 left in the quarter. This is San Diego's opening drive. Tolbert to the 20-yard line. 5'9", 243. Andrea down on the sideline. What's the story with Gates, Andrea?
Well, as Chris just mentioned, he's got a right torn plantar fascia and turf toe on the left foot. He told me it's all about pain management, and he said the toughest thing for him to do is plant with his left foot and cut to his right.
And we'll see how much he can play tonight. Again, he was a guy we didn't know if he was going to play. He's missed the last 2 games, but trying to help Rivers out tonight and averaging 16.6 yards per grab. 2nd and 2 from the 20. Tolbert to the 18. And Chris, I guess it goes all the way back to Don Nottingham about 35 years ago. Anytime you've got a guy of that size, 5'9" or so, 240, they call him a bowling ball.
It's like trying to tackle a pyramid. How do you do it? Where do you start? You start at the bottom, you start at the top. I don't know how you do it, but I think he has just been invaluable to the Chargers this year. Started out as a fullback, now playing tailback, had a great game last week, and is one of the leading tacklers on special teams. I mean, those guys are hard to find.
Tolbert on the sideline right now. You got Sproles lining up in the backfield from the 18. They fake it. And then underneath to Sproles. So Rivers utilizing a lot of that fake it to the back and then go to him underneath with good success on this first drive. He is 4 out of 4. Phillip is for 29 yards.
Well, Marcus McNeil on the outside is going to get some help from his guard Dealman, but the key guy there was Darren Sproles, because on the other side, Jeremy Clary was able to handle Mathis without help, so that allows them to get Darren Sproles out. They get him the football, 2nd and short.
2nd and 2. Tolbert back in. He tries to cut it back, and as he does, he runs right into the right side of that Indianapolis defensive front. Antonio Johnson standing him up, 3rd and short.
Boy, Cavell Connor was good on that one, though. He may have gotten beat on the first one, the linebacker. Watch him attack down here on this one and take on the fullback, Jacob Hester. This is the way you play linebacker when you're confident. Hasn't played a whole lot, but that was a nice shot there.
Colts had a 12-play drive. This is play number 9 for the Chargers. 3rd and 2 from the 10. And Rivers to the end zone and incomplete, intended for Malcolm Floyd in the back corner. Hayden covering on the play, and San Diego will have to settle for a field goal attempt.
Well, that was close on the outside. I didn't know if they were going to get, I think that was Kelvin Hayden on a grab or not, a little out and up route, and it was borderline. See if we can pick it up on the outside here. Malcolm Floyd going out. See a little bit, but it was right at the 5-yard marker. I think a good no call by the officials.
28-yard attempt for Nate Caden. And Caden's kick is just inside the right upright. So each team scores on its opening drive. 7-3 Colts. Colts will get it up by 4. Nate Kading to send it down in the direction of Brandon James from the 2. And starts to stumble. Tackled at the 20. A couple of guys in civvies tonight. Gary Brackett and Bob Sanders looking on. 7-3 Colts.
Well, Peyton Manning always gets the ball out of his hands quickly, but when you're playing against the #1 defense, you really crank it up. Under 2 seconds. Under 2 seconds. The one time he did go over 2 seconds, he got hit as he released the football. Still got the completion. Once again, under 2 seconds. I don't care how good your pass rush is, you're not getting there that quickly.
Colts begin now from the 20-yard line. Donald Brown flanking Manning. And Brown takes the swing pass. And gets out to the 26-yard line. That is a gain of 6 yards. Burnett makes the tackle. Colts, when scoring first this season, 6-1 when the opposition scores first. 0-3 in this stadium. The Colts are 4-0, and you get them away from here. They're 2-4. The good news for them, 4 of the final 6, including tonight right here.
26.
2nd and 4. Here's Brown. Nowhere. Let's take a look at the Charger defense.
Luis Castillo, Northwestern University.
Antonio Garay, Broadway High School.
Jacques Césaire, Southern Connecticut.
Sean Phillips, Purdue.
Stephen Cooper, University of Maine.
Kevin Burnett, Tennessee.
Antoine Applewhite, Brady Hoke University.
Quentin Jammer, Texas.
Paul Oliver, Georgia.
Eric Weddle, Utah.
Antoine Casey, University of Arizona.
#1 ranked defense in the National Football League, but giving up an opening drive touchdown. Now trying to stop him on a 3rd and 5 here. And Manning staying in the pocket and has it intercepted, and that's Kevin Burnett, who ran one back as a Cowboy for a touchdown against Manning, and he does it again. Kevin Burnett, he has been there before on a 3rd down and 5, gets it into the end zone.
I think Burnett fooled Peyton Manning. He's going to step up and then drop back late, and he went right underneath the throwing lane. You can see Peyton Manning was looking left, saw the man coverage, saw the guy trailing Reggie Wayne, and he just never saw Kevin Burnett. And I tell you what, Peyton Manning has looked as bad against the San Diego Chargers as any team you can name in the National Football League. He has made big mistakes against this team.
And how about Burnett as Kading ties the game? Burnett making a tackle on the near side of the field on the previous play, and then going back to 06 when he did it as a Cowboy, does it here tonight. And San Diego moves up by 3, 10-7. Manning's had his fill of San Diego. Talked about how tough it's been for the Colts to play them. Peyton, 44 passes a game, highest average by any quarterback against any team. And that was coming into the game. 10 touchdowns and now make it 13 interceptions after that one by Burnett, 2nd lowest passer rating against one team for Peyton Manning. And it's 10-7 San Diego. Here's the kickoff fielded by Brandon James at the 2-yard line. And James will get corralled at the 25-yard line as we go back to the pick and the score.
One issue that the Colts have had has been right here. Jeff Linkenbach is a tackle they're trying to convert to guard. They thought maybe he would give a little better pass protection, but you could see that time the Chargers filled every gap, and the idea behind it is to create a one-on-one with Antonio Garay against Jeff Linkenbach, and that time the pressure by Garay was the difference. There's Linkenbach on the sideline getting yet another lesson on how to play guard.
And that's why Mike Pollock is in the game now, taking his spot, and Brown gets taken down by the Chargers, and it's Cooper doing a little pushing and shoving for a little extra emphasis at the end of the play.
Well, it's just so hard, and I know Peyton Manning's a great player, and I know that there are so many things that we can say about him, but if you can't run the football, you're just limited. Every defensive coordinator in this league will tell you the same thing. We stop the run, we're going to win.
2nd down and 10. Manning, and that's incomplete. Linkenbach back in now on the offensive line. Jacob Tamme was the intended receiver there. 3rd and 10. He's been going Tammy's way a lot. Of course, he loved working with Dallas Clark through the years, but Clark with a wrist injury against Washington middle of October went on IR, and Tammy's come out of the bullpen to do a pretty good job.
Yeah, averaging about 6 catches per game. That's pretty good when he had 6 in his career before he took over.
3rd and 10. Manning, and that's caught on the run by Garcon, shoved out of bounds into the San Diego bench by Weddle. But they convert on a 3rd down and 10 for a gain of 19.
Really nice move on the outside by Pierre Garcon. This is a guy that, because of some hamstring injuries, he hasn't been able to practice very much. Really, because of all these injuries, Peyton Manning just feels like he doesn't feel comfortable at all with their passing game. But the last couple of weeks, Garcon's been able to practice, and Peyton thinks it's made a huge difference.
Final minute of the quarter. And Manning will throw underneath and picked up close to 8 yards as Wayne makes the grab just across the 50-yard line. And with Garcon not practicing, Chris talking about that and not getting in the rhythm that Manning likes to have, just 48% of the passes intended for Garcon have been completed. like Peyton. With anybody. 2nd and 3. And they give it to Brown on a draw, and he'll lose yardage. Taken down at the 50-yard line, so the second quarter will start with a 3rd and 4. It's the end of 1 in Indianapolis with the score: the San Diego Chargers 10 and the Indianapolis Colts 7. And Sunday Night Football continues after these messages. It is 3rd down and 4 from the 50-yard line for the Colts. Rush 4. And Manning gets hit as he throws, and it's another interception. And this time it is Cooper back in coverage. And he's taken down at the 40. So he was up at the line. He drops back into coverage. You had Antoine Barnes coming in, and for the second time, Manning gets jostled, and it leads to a pick.
Just like the last play against the Patriots, just slight pressure, but it was Antoine Barnes working off the edge, and he gets just enough of Peyton Manning to make this ball go right up in the air, a flutter ball, and there was Stephen Cooper waiting on the back end of it. That thing just was a helicopter coming down in the middle of this field. Where they are so excited about what Antoine Barnes has delivered. He is their fastest pass rusher, and you saw it there.
So Manning had 3 picks last week in Foxborough, 2 tonight. Here's Tolbert. The bad news, though, for San Diego, Vincent Jackson, who was going to play tonight and did play a little bit in the first quarter, has a calf injury, and he is done for the night. So after 10 weeks on the shelf, he had a 3-game suspension. He had a contract dispute. He comes back. He practices for 3 weeks. He plays a little bit in the first quarter. They don't target him at all, and he's done for the evening.
They are in a spot. These receivers are hurting, and if they lose another one, I'm not sure where they go tonight.
Well, Patrick Creighton had a wrist injury last week. He had a big game on Monday night. Here's Rivers, and he's over the middle and complete. He was in a pocket. He had no breathing room at all, but he gets it off to Legadou Nane.
This is just funny to watch. I mean, it really is. You've got Marcus McNeil. His tackle is basically going to run into him. But watch him sort of hop up here and just do this. I don't know what you call that. That's a little, shot put or something over the top. This is one of the most competitive kids you'll ever see play quarterback. He loves the game, and he is just tough. It doesn't matter what's going on around him. He's going to find a way to throw it.
20-yard gain. Off the fake again, and here's Nane, who's missed 5 games with a hamstring pull, and he takes it to the 25. Part of the reason I think a lot of people have overlooked what Rivers has done is because the Chargers started 2-5. Now they're 5-5, but he leads the league in pass rating, leads the league in touchdown passes. I mean, he's had some pretty good years since the Chargers made him their starting quarterback in 06, but right now he's off the charts.
And you can take his last 3 years, this year included, and his numbers are as good as anybody's. And I mean anybody. Peyton, Brady, Breeze, any of them. And he is always right in the hunt for the MVP, and he is again.
From the 25-yard line on first down. Tolbert against that porous rushing defense, and that's a gain of 9 yards. Chris Dielman, Pro Bowl guard, pulling out and leading the way, and Jim Caldwell showing some concern, and he should, because that defense can't stop the run.
I think the Patriots ran for about 168 yards, 6 yards a carry, and so far San Diego doing the same thing. The difference in the really good teams, San Diego, New England, they can run the ball, they can show balance. The Colts can't.
2nd and 2. Tolbert again. Slips the tackle. Takes the ball to the 11-yard line. Tolbert played at Coastal Carolina. Was a tailback there. Saw a lot of action at tailback in training camp, but is thought of as a fullback, but now has to go back to that tailback spot in the absence of Matthews.
Watch Marcus McNeil here working against Keontae Dawson, just getting that edge. He is such a good athlete on the outside. Phillip Rivers called him the Deion Sanders of tackles. So he's always goofing around, hyping around. I always have to tell him, get back in the huddle. But athletically, He can do a lot.
And there's a guy who missed a lot of the early part of the season in a contract squabble. Play fake, flag thrown, and it's caught out in the flat by Sproles. Alberto Riveron. He says, for my mother, call me Riveron. Okay, there you go.
Personal foul, face mask, number 68. Offense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Dielman.
Well, Chris Dielman just got a little off balance on that one and reached back with his right hand and grabbed the face mask, trying to protect his quarterback. Dielman's one of those guys a little on the edge anyway. He is a player that he's going to block you, and then they're going to blow the whistle, and then he's going to do something else to you, and it may or may not be legal.
So that makes it 1st and 25 from the 26-yard line. Freeney gets back. That's McMichael splitting out wide to the right. And Rivers throwing, and it's incomplete over the middle. But they almost came up with it on a pass intended for Nane, 2nd and 25.
Well, I think the one thing that they've got to do, Phillip Rivers I'm talking about, is get the ball to Antonio Gates somehow. If he was wide open on that play, yeah, you may have another option down the middle. But just get the ball in his hands, and all of a sudden this defense will start to shrink to him, and then you can push it down the field.
And he was open over the middle. He splits out wide to the right. Sproles is in the backfield. 2nd down and 25. And they're going to give it to Sproles through the middle, and Sproles will take the ball to the 15-yard line. Tackled there by Pat Angerer, the rookie out of Iowa, who's spelling the injured Gary Brackett.
Well, anytime you watch the Colts, you know that Freeney wants those sacks. So what do? You come on up here, big guy. We're just going to run right inside. You see those running lanes inside? It's a good call on 2nd and long. Now it gives you a chance.
3rd and 14 from the 15-yard line.
7 defensive backs in the game now for the Colts, something they have not done.
And Rivers will throw, and it's incomplete. And it was the receiver, Ajira-Tutu, Shei Ajira-Tutu, a rookie out of Fresno State, who couldn't get his GPS down there.
You'll see all the DBs, and it's because of these two guys right there. They just don't feel like they can cover Antonio Gates and Darren Sproles with linebackers, so they're just going to take them out of the game, put in defensive backs. It's a look the Chargers and really anybody else that's played the Colts. You haven't seen it.
Nate Kading, a 33-yard attempt is good. So the turnover leads to a field goal. 10:04 to the half. It's a 6-point Charger lead. Kevin Burnett with that interception and run back for a touchdown. Only Ty Law and Burnett are the two guys with 2 interceptions that resulted in touchdowns against Peyton Manning. And Manning's 2 picks coming on the last 2 drives after he led him down the field on the opening drive for a touchdown. Kick taken at the 5 and dropped. James tries to recover it, and the San Diego special teams unit, they really cleaned that act up in the last month right there. Tyrone Carter making the tackle, pinning them deep. 9:57 to the half, 13-7, San Diego. Always a chess match between a linebacker, in this case Stephen Cooper, and Peyton Manning. We'll get to that in a second. You can see what Cooper's trying to listen for. Javaris James is the running back here. Ball is at the 10-yard line. A quick swing pass taken by Reggie Wayne. Gain of 3. And speaking of that chess match, Chris, let's go back to the series before.
Just listen to this.
Ryan, you're up. Belly. Ryan, you're up. Belly. You're up.
You know, football players aren't the smartest guys in the world. It was a B word, which they equate to belly, and I think they guessed right.
2nd and 7. That pass is caught on a slant by Reggie Wayne. Up to the 25. What do you mean they're not the smartest guys in the world? Come on.
You got to keep it simple for everybody. So there's ways of doing it. When you have an S word in the audible, it's probably the stretch play. A B word's belly. That's how it works. So you can say any word you want. You can say balloon, and that means belly. But for Stephen Cooper, he's a guy that Ron Rivera says, along with Brian Urlacher, is the smartest guy I've ever coached. And he out there is calling audibles that he thinks matches what Peyton's doing.
I believe in subterfuge. From the 25. Play clock all the way down. And that's Javaris James, who runs right into Sean Phillips.
Well, they either know what they're doing or they're whipping their butt. I'm not sure which one it is. But on the outside, Sean Phillips going to jump inside Jacob Tammy, who is not nearly the blocker that Dallas Clark was. So again, another reason why they're limited in the run. And you're looking at a very complete football player right there in Sean Phillips. He is the full package.
Coming off a great performance 6 nights ago against the Broncos. 2nd down and 11. Manning stepping up and he'll dump it underneath, and James makes the catch, and he'll get tackled at the 30, about 5 yards short of the first down by Kevin Burnett.
You know, that's the other thing that Peyton has working against him is Joseph Adai is not here, and he was a little like Edger and James in that he could do everything. He could block, he understood pass protection, he could run the football great. These other guys are good at some things, but none of them are what Joseph Adai was, which was the complete back. And they miss him dearly, and it shows out here.
And they miss a lot of guys because we're watching Indianapolis do more huddling tonight than I can remember. They just come out of a huddle again. It's 3rd down and 4. And Manning's going to go deep downfield, and it is incomplete. The crowd wants a flag, and they're not going to get one. Blair White, who caught 2 touchdown passes last week in New England, the intended receiver. It's 4th down.
Well, he kind of had a chance here. Blair White is right here, and he's just going to take off straight up the field. And Quentin Jammer's going to come over and has a little bump on him. There may have been a little bit of a bump there, but not enough, mostly because Blair White really wasn't even looking back at the ball.
Here's Pat McAfee's punt, and it's a high and very short kick that will bounce San Diego's way and come all the way back and go out of bounds at the San Diego 42-yard line. That was a 27-yard boot. Marquee quarterback matchup tonight. These guys 1 and 2 in passing yardage this season. Rivers on a near record pace. Rivers with 15 different receivers he's completed passes to, 14 for Manning. And Manning with 8 guys with 10 or more catches. Rivers with 9 guys. And if Ajera Tutu catches one tonight, that'll be another guy for him. 7:06 remaining in the opening half. Good field position after a 27-yard punt that spun backwards off the foot of McAfee. And they start with Tolbert going to the outside. He runs right around Bethea, outruns Foster, and finally gets taken down by Aaron Francisco.
Boy, Antoine Bethea is one of their best players, and he just got sucked in here. He's going to come right behind our logo, and he's supposed to have contain right here on this edge, and he just ends up losing it. There's nobody else to the outside. On the other side, you're going to see Marcus McNeil and there's a nice little hole for Dwight Freeney to take with you.
Always good to run by the logo, isn't it?
It is. I never got to use the logo in a telestration before.
From the 37-yard line, Tolbert again, 5 tough yards right through the middle. Jacob Hester, again, we talked about the fact that San Diego uses a 2-back set about 50% of the time, and that's a tremendous amount in today's NFL. Only Miami has used 2 backs in the backfield together more than San Diego.
I tell you, I really like Jacob Hester as a fullback. He is the most unfullback looking guy that you will see, but he has a way of digging guys out. He's not very big, but that was a key block he made on that last one.
Sproles is the running back now behind Hester, and here comes Sproles dancing to the outside on the 2nd and 5. And able to get about 3 yards to the 30-yard line, where it'll be 3rd down and 3 for the Chargers.
Well, the one thing that, oh man, you cannot afford to have another back hurt over there. Mike Tolbert kind of shaking his hand on the sideline. They've got Curtis Brinkley up, but they are very thin. Ryan Matthews, their top draft pick, not available either.
3rd and 3. Crowd trying to jam the signals. Colts blitz, and Rivers is going to get taken down. Antoine Bethea coming in, and that's something the Colts do irregularly. Normally with that front four, they just send for 7 cover, but not this time, and it works for them.
Great job by Bethea on this one. He is in coverage right here, but when he sees Randy McMichael block, he's just going to come and go after Phillip Rivers, and it's a good thing that he did, because Legadou Nene was open for the 1st down on that one. Rivers just could not get the ball to him.
Now a 50-yard attempt for Kading. 2 for 2 tonight from 28 and 33. Mike Wink is the snapper, and Kading's kick is good. So Nate with 3 field goals tonight, and that gives San Diego a 9-point lead with 4.5 to the half. Kading to send it down to James. Indianapolis with no good run backs tonight, starting deep in their own territory each time. This time James gets taken down at the 25. And that's San Diego special teams unit doing a nice job tonight. NFL's Play 60 program encourages kids and families to live active and healthy lives. The Chargers and Colts have both actively supported the program in their communities. And before the game, the Colts under 10 youths who have made the commitment to be active and lead a healthy life. Good for those kids.
Good idea. Yeah. It's a thrill to come down and walk around the field with the players a little bit. It's fun.
You and I can use some of that advice.
Play 10.
Lead a healthier life. Here's Garcon to the 30-yard line. Tackled by Hughes.
Oh, Peyton's kind of been coming in and out of the pace. It seems like after 1st down, he's hurrying things up, and then on 3rd down, they're going back to the huddle, which is very un-Colt-like, especially at home.
2nd and 5, swings it outside. Tammy's going to make the catch. He'll get rolled now, but not until he picks up the 1st down. Kevin Burnett making the tackle.
You know what I thought was interesting that Peyton was saying? He said, you know, when we're good, we don't get to 3rd down. You know, when we're playing well, it's 1st down, 2nd down, 1st down again. And that's what they finally got going there. And now that maybe they can get a little tempo going.
Ball's at the 38-yard line. Manning with good protection this time, and he had Garcon beaten the coverage and overthrows him. Quentin Jammer was beaten, and Garcon was 5 yards beyond him.
He hesitated. Pierre Garcon, watch him when he goes by Jammer, just hesitate. Just hesitates. Peyton threw it out there, and then he couldn't catch it. You know, those are the kind of timing issues that we've seen this entire season between those two. And I know Garcon's had the hamstring injuries, but he's running now. You just have to finish the play.
6 points go wasting. 2nd down and 10 from the 38-yard line. And that's a deep pass, and Wayne can't hold on to that one. 3rd and 10, and Peyton says, let's huddle up here.
Well, just a little mild double move on the part of Reggie Wayne at the top. And you're not going to see this one too often. I can. How many could you name that you've seen like that from Reggie Wayne?
Right.
Not very many, maybe 4 or 5 in his career like that one. So 2 missed huge play opportunities. You're 3rd and 10, and here comes the pass rush now.
And back-to-back plays. But only 2 down linemen. Now a 3rd puts his hand down for San Diego. And they send 3. And they get it to Wayne. And Wayne will get taken down at the 44-yard line. So it'll be 4th down with 3.5. And in comes the punting unit.
Well, Reggie Wayne, right after the drop, watch what he does here. He's going to look up and say, I lost it. You know, in the lights, and, you know, there are lights on.
Yep. But at home, where these guys are next to unbeatable. They've won 17 of their last 18 regular season games here.
They don't look so unbeatable tonight.
No. And in addition to playoff games. McAfee's kick. Fair catch called for. Made by Sproles at the 15-yard line. You know, the Chargers, when you look at them, late bloomers, month by month under Norv Turner, since he took over in 07, as you can see, they just get better and better. They start the year like Zenyatta runs a race. Way, way, way back, and then all of a sudden, bang, down the stretch. Here they come. And Rivers, too. I mean, 33-5 as a starter in November, December, and when the calendar for the regular season laps over into January. And once again, it's the same thing this year. 2-5, now 5-5, trying to go to 6-5, and the next 3 games in San Diego. From the 14-yard line, Sproles. Let's check in with Andrea.
Well, guys, for the Chargers, Mike Tolbert is in the locker room having his right hand evaluated. And remember, he's been so productive this year with 8 touchdowns, especially with #1 running back Ryan Matthews still sidelined with injuries.
Thank you, Andrea. It just doesn't stop. You got Tolbert back there. You got Jackson seeing his first action of the season out. Creighton played well last week. He had a wrist injury. There's Matthews, their #1 draft choice, the running back. He's gone again tonight. And the Chargers just doing it like the Colts do with paste and glue.
I got an idea. Let's play 18 games then. It is going to be a war of attrition no matter how many games you play, and we are seeing it already with both of these teams.
2-minute warning. Second down and 9, each team with all of its timeouts. And Rivers throws to Nene, who turned around and was looking for Hagler. He thought it was Marvelous Marvin behind him, and he dropped it. 3rd and 9.
I tell you, there's a great battle going on the outside with Jeremy Clary working against Robert Mathis, and that is the single block that we are going to be seeing all night. If Clary can just survive over there, they're getting Darren Sproles out, and this is a big play. If you have to turn it back over to Peyton with 3 timeouts, this game could feel a whole lot different going to the half.
3rd and 9. And Rivers throws underneath, and it's caught, but can he get the first down? Sproles can't. They stop him at the 21-yard line, and that will force a punt. And it will also stop the clock on an Indianapolis timeout. We're back, and Mike Cyphers has just delivered a booming punt to the 20-yard line, and Brandon James will bring that kick back to the 35-yard line. So here comes Manning with 1:36 and 2 timeouts. Numbers for the 2 guys, the 2 quarterbacks to this point tonight. Manning with those 2 interceptions. One was run back for a touchdown. The other led to a San Diego field goal, so 10 points off those 2 picks.
Well, here's where you really miss the Austin Collies and the Dallas Clarks, the guys that are used to running this hurry up, attack them style of offense, and we'll see how the young guys can do with it.
You know, Luis Castillo into the locker room, the Chargers defensive end, as they line up in their base 3-4 here on first down, and Manning will throw it over the middle, and the pass will be taken in. Tammy reaching for it, making the catch on the run, on the dead run, all the way to the 35-yard line for a gain of 30 yards.
Well, what an impressive catch by Tammy that time, splitting those 2 safeties, knowing you can get drilled on that one.
And now Manning going deep and almost has that one intercepted by Weddle on a pass intended for Reggie Wayne.
Go back to the play before. Watch Jacob Tamme coming down here and split in the middle, and it's no surprise that the very next play after Peyton guts the middle of that defense, he tries to go back outside, but they are doubling Reggie Wayne. If he wants to take a shot, it almost has to be to Garcon.
Castillo back in the locker room and checking out his knee at 2nd down and 10. There's Garcon making the catch, reaching up for it inside the 20, the 10. He'll take it to the 4-yard line.
Well, we're sitting up here 100 yards off the field, but Peyton's a whole lot better at deciphering it down there. He knew immediately after they rotated that coverage last time where he was going with the next one.
31 yards, make it 30 now for Garcon. So you had 30 to Tamme, 30 to Garcon. 60 yards on those 2 passes. It's 1st and goal. Half a minute to go. And then this is Brown getting tackled outside the 5-yard line. And now Indianapolis will take its 2nd timeout. .26 seconds, 1 timeout left for the Colts. 2nd down and goal. Chargers will get the ball at the start of the 2nd half. Manning out of the gun, and we got a whistle before the snap. And we have a timeout called by San Diego, so they take their first.
Timeout, San Diego, their first.
2nd down and goal after San Diego took a look at how Indianapolis came up, called a defensive timeout. Colts with 1 left. 26 seconds. 2nd and goal. Manning stepping up and throwing, and it will be caught by White for a touchdown. Blair White, a rookie out of Michigan State. 2 touchdowns last week against New England and 1 here tonight.
Now they're just going to bring Reggie up, get a little rub, get up the field, and watch Blair White for his 3rd touchdown in 2 weeks. Who's Blair White? Who knows? It doesn't matter. As soon as you start playing in Peyton Manning's offense, you score touchdowns.
Took Case into the outside, then cut back inside Vinatieri's extra point. Makes it a 2-point game with 22 seconds to the half. Peyton Manning, he'll find anybody. Blair White was a walk-on at Michigan State. There's Victory Field, the minor league baseball stadium here, and there is White. Wasn't with the team for the first 2 games this season, but with all of the injuries, remember Anthony Gonzalez played very sparingly early on, and then he went on IR. Reggie Wayne at least has been very, very healthy. Colley's missed 3 games, so it gives a kid like White a chance, and he's making the most of it.
He has. He made brilliant catches in that New England game a week ago. Just acts like he's been here forever.
McAfee's kickoff. Sproles is dangerous. From the 2. Inside. 2 yards inside the end zone, and he takes it all the way out to the 25-yard line. You got Sproles in the backfield with Rivers. 16 seconds. 2 timeouts. And Rivers will throw it to Sproles. And Sproles can only get a couple of yards.
So you better be careful. Dwight Freeney almost got there on that one. It's a good thing he got it out of his hands. Might have been one of those late sack fumbles.
And Nora figures, let's just go to the locker room with a 2-point advantage. 16-14 at the half. 17 of the last 18 regular season games won here by the Colts. They dropped their first 2 to Chicago and Jacksonville back when the stadium opened. But since then, nearly unbeatable. And the only game that they lost was that one to the Jets last year, which meant nothing to Indianapolis and everything to the Jets. 1-yard line, Sproles to run the kickback, and Sproles gets taken down up at the 33-yard line by Jacob Lacey.
Well, there's no question one of the keys of this game is that San Diego was going to try and block these two great pass rushers on the outside with their tackles in more one-on-one situations than most. Marcus McNeil, Jeremy Clary, both did a good job. Neither of these guys have a sack, but I will say they're getting closer, and it really has more to do, Al, don't you think, with the situations. If they can get them in those 3rd and longs and give those guys a chance, they'll get there. But as long as they're running the ball well, it's just tougher to get cranked up with the pass rush.
Well, Rivers right now with 8 completions, 12 attempts. He's only completed passes to one wide receiver, that's Nane, and he throws underneath, and this is Hester, and Hester spins away from a tackle and comes close to picking up a first down. Let's get an update now from Andrea.
Well, Al, Norv Turner said in order to convert field goals into touchdowns, they have to do better on 3rd down. He said that the Colts are playing deep coverage to take away the best play. The Colts are playing deep coverage to take away the big play, so the Chargers have to finish drives better. As for Jim Caldwell, why are the Colts huddling up? He said it's just to change the tempo.
It's a change. It's a strange change of tempo, but it sort of worked at the end of the first half as it was Tolbert there. They had been huddling, then they went no huddle, of course, in the 2-minute situation. Andrew talking about 3rd down. San Diego is 0 for 4 on 3rd down to this point.
You know, typically Robert Mathis, I think, is the better run player of these two guys, but watch Dwight Freeney here. He's going to get even chopped down and still just stay alive long enough to make Tolbert bounce it one hole wider, and then his friends got there.
2nd and 10. A little jump. We're going to get a free play out of this. And this is Gates, so they finally get it to the big tight end, and he'll have a first down at the 44-yard line, and they can decline the penalty.
Well, you want to impact the Colts Tampa 2 defense.
Offside, number 93, defense. The penalty is declined. The result of the play is a first down.
Start working the ball to Antonio Gates a little bit. Watch Pat Angrer here. He's going to split down the middle, and then Antonio Gates just goes where he was. All of a sudden now, if you're hitting Antonio Gates right over the middle like that, you have to fundamentally change how you're playing defense if he starts getting the ball. I would force feed it to him a lot.
Rivers under pressure, moving to his right, and then he just dumps it off, and he finds Tolbert, and he makes the catch at the 38-yard line. Turning nothing into a little bit of something right there. 2 minutes into the 3rd quarter. Numbers through the first half. Look at that. The Colts again with no running game at all. 10 yards. 197 though in the air. A lot of those coming on that last drive with 2 big 30-yard completions, a pair of them. And the 2 turnovers leading to 10 Charger points.
I think that 10-yard stat is the greatest tribute to Peyton Manning that you could put on the screen.
Right.
And he's doing it by himself out there.
2nd down and 3. Rivers buys time, throws, and open, and making the catch is Ajera Tutu, and that's a first down to the 21. That hard play fake, and Rivers is so good on play action. He doesn't use it all that frequently, but when he does, he's tremendous.
The inside linebackers have no choice but to react up because San Diego can run the football. So when they do, and they are young guys, they can't decipher the difference between play action and what's not. You can see them just sort of running around in circles out there, and those deep crossing routes are going to be there.
At the 21 now on first down. Rivers, good protection, throws, and it's caught by Gates. So Gates, a silent first half covered by Bethea, but is able to haul it in, and that'll make it 1st and goal at the 3.
You just can't get your body around him. Here he is right here, and Bethea can't cover him any better. I mean, he's right there, but his body is so big and his arms are so long, he just is kind of like Charles Barkley out there. He gets in there in rebound position, and you think you're in the right spot, but you're not getting the rebound.
1st and goal at the 3. Tolbert's the back. Tolbert gets the ball, and Tolbert gets hammered by Philip Wheeler, number 50. At the line of scrimmage, it'll be 2nd down and goal.
Boy, what a play you called to Philip Wheeler on that one, stepping up and through, and that is a major collision. He's adjusting his helmet right there. I bet he is. There goes Wheeler right up over here. Tough to stop that big guy for 0.
Tough to stop the Chargers in goal-to-go situations. They scored a touchdown on each of their last 10 goal-to-go situations. 2nd and goal. Tolbert. And he can only get to the 1-yard line. Cavell Connor, outside backer, makes the tackle. What do you like for the call here on 3rd and goal?
Well, I think if you're Norv Turner, you're just going to keep taking your shots here. I mean, this is a power football team. If you're the Colts, it's probably 100% pass on this one. But for the Chargers, I think they maybe go twice here. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Take 2 shots, try and stretch this lead.
Line up in the tight run formation. 3 tight ends. Play fake. Rivers rolling under pressure, and he's going to get taken down at the 11-yard line. Eric Foster gets to him. Big defensive stop.
I just don't know that on 3rd and 1 you're really fooling anybody with this play call. You know, on 1st down, you go play action fake, or even 2nd down, you're going to see all these guys come up, but there's Eric Foster who's just going to stay with the play. The coverage was there. Nobody was fooled. Nobody was playing the run. Good job defensively.
30-yard attempt for Kading. And that's 4 field goals for him tonight. So that offense hasn't gotten into the end zone. The 1 touchdown was on defense. Kading's accounted for 12 other points, and that makes it 19-14 San Diego. Kading's kickoff. 6-yard line, Brandon James runs into his own man as he crosses the 25-yard line with 9:11 remaining in the 3rd quarter. The Colts will see the football for the first time in the 2nd half. This is a game of major import to both teams. Kansas City won today to beat Seattle. So if San Diego loses, they'd be 2 back with 5 to go, and they've already lost to Kansas City. Now for Indianapolis, a win makes them 7-4, puts them in undisputed possession of first place. If they lose, they're 6-5. So is Jacksonville, and the Jaguars already own a win over the Colts, and they'll face them here in a couple of weeks. Manning will throw, and that pass is intended for Wayne and incomplete.
Well, for Peyton Manning, obviously the story of the first half were some of the times he was contacted that created issues that led directly to the interceptions on both of those plays. And so protection is going to be paramount here in the 2nd half as he continues on his record pace of attempts.
2nd and 10, they run a draw here. And this is Brown, and he will go nowhere. Burnett, who had the touchdown before, making the tackle. It's going to set up a 3rd and 9.
Yeah, and now here you go again for Peyton Manning. But, you know, once again, he stays dedicated to that run, but it has to be frustrating because when you're gaining 1 yard at a time, which is what he's doing, it's almost like, why bother?
3rd down and 9. Manning stepping up, avoids the pressure, throws, intercepted at the 40-yard line by Eric Weddle. Receiver fell down, and Weddle down the sideline, and Weddle will go to the end zone for a touchdown. 3 picks of Manning tonight. And 2 of them run back for San Diego touchdowns.
Yeah, they're going to bring the pressure here on Peyton Manning. And as he's stepping up, again, avoiding the pressure that we just showed you, he does a good job escaping it. But the man coverage underneath, Reggie Wayne unable to shake Eric Weddle. And once again, it's the San Diego Chargers making huge plays against Peyton Manning.
Burnett and Weddle have both running back for touchdowns. Extra point by Kading is good. And San Diego leads by a dozen with 8:21 to go in the third. Definitely could have had a flag on this. Take a look at this with Wayne crossing over and Weddle making contact and then getting the interception.
Well, and not only does Weddle hook him here, but by hooking him, he sort of propels himself forward on this play, knocks Wayne down, and allows him a little burst of speed to go and make the interception. No question about it. That one should have been called.
And there's Manning expressing that feeling, the crowd booing through the whole commercial break because they've been watching the replays on the big screens. And it's 26-14. Brandon James from the 4. Up to the 20-yard line. Tackled there by Pat Watkins, one of the guys they brought in mid-season to shore up what had been a horrible special teams unit. Consecutive games, 3 picks, only the second time in his career. You'd have to go back to his rookie season, his first 2 career games, for that to have taken place before tonight.
And they've made the decision to go with Jeffrey Linkenbach at the right guard position for pass protection reasons. They knew they were going to give up something in the running game, but they thought it would shore up the protection. And even though he's not getting the sacks as much, the hits are really creating problems.
From the 20. 4-man rush, and, well, almost as if you were teaching a clinic here, Chris. I mean, there's Linkenbach, who gets pushed all the way back into Manning.
Well, here you go, right here. These 2 guys, you're going to see exactly what we were just talking about. Linkenbach is just going to make the sack on Peyton Manning. You know, I mean, Antonio Garay took Linkenbach and just threw him. And there's really not a whole lot of defense for that. Linkenbach is a backup tackle. They tried to make a starting guard. It's not working.
2nd and 16. And that's tipped, and it's incomplete off the hands of White. You could call him a weak link, but I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to be that trite.
You would never do anything like that.
I would never do anything like that.
Zenyatta.
Please. Well, I got to get a horse racing reference in. You know that. There's Mike Pollock. He was a 2nd-round pick, and shows you how far down he's dropped because he'd be the guy who would normally be in there.
Well, and wherever Ryan Lilja is in Kansas City, he might be thinking this, maybe I could help him too.
3rd and 16. 3-man rush underneath. Pass is caught, and that's Javaris James, and he'll be about 6 yards short of the first down, and the punt team will come in.
Yeah, well, maybe I should clear that up a little bit. Ryan Lilja was the guard that helped take this team to the Super Bowl a year ago, and they thought maybe he was part of the problem, but maybe he was part of the solution then, because they have been fishing for an answer at the guards. They've replaced both guards already this season and still have major issues.
McAfee to punt. Sproles from his 27. And down at the 30-yard line with 7:02 remaining in the 3rd quarter, and the Chargers up by 12.
Great quarterbacks, but a lot of different kinds of throwing motions around. Tom Brady, probably the most classic throwing motion, straight over the top. Mike Vick, one of those guys. Watch his elbow. Watch the torque as he releases the football. Peyton Manning really throws from the hip up. And then Phillip Rivers. What did you say, Al? Unique? Very unique throwing motion, but very entertaining, very competitive kid, and he gets it done.
And before the season's done, he's liable to break Dan Marino's record for most passing yards in a season. Tonight he's 13 of 17 for 136. Colbert to the outside. And as if to get the crowd even crazier, while we're in a commercial break, all they did in the stadium on the video boards was replay the Weddle non-call, and interception. And there it is. Dan Marino, in the year that he went to the Super Bowl, his second year, and they lost to San Francisco 5,084. Rivers coming into tonight on a pace that would put him 1 yard shy. Drew Brees with 5,069 in 2008 came up 15 yards shy of Marino's mark. Second down and 10 from the 30-yard line. Tolbert. And they stop him back at the 29. So San Diego with 26 points tonight, but no offensive touchdowns.
Well, Mike Tolbert has changed his style. That's a second straight run now. He's tried to go inside and bounced outside. Believe me, Mike Tolbert is never going to outrun this Indianapolis Colts defense. He has to jam it inside like he did in the first half. Stay with it. This will never, ever work.
3rd and 11. Four-man rush, dump it off, Sproles, and they'll stop him short of the first down at the 36-yard line. Jacob Lacey up to make the hit. 5.5 to go in the quarter, 3 and out for San Diego.
Well, that's the big difference when you get him in a 3rd and 11. All of a sudden now you're thinking I've got to help on Dwight Freeney, so Sproles a little slower getting out and they unable to pick up the first down.
Mike Cyphers threw a pass last week when they were down 7-0 to convert a 4th down. Turned out to be a big play. Got him started. This kick fielded by James. And James is taken down at the 19-yard line. Manning and his club down by 12, late 3rd.
Peyton Manning has that sleeve on his elbow that he's worn throughout the course of the season, but he did not have it on to start the game tonight. Just wonder if some of those hits and pulls on his arm may have tweaked that injury a bit.
Had it on from time to time since very early in the season. First down from the 19-yard line. They start on the ground. And Brown will pick up about 4 up to the 24.
Well, they're trying to do some of the old classic runs, you know, the powers, pulling the guard around and getting up through, but I don't know if it's just the fact they're changing linemen, they've changed backs, or whatever it is, but this is the least effective I have ever seen in the Indianapolis Colts running game. I've never seen it like this back-to-back weeks.
One of the rare times you'll see Garcon line up on the left side. And we got Manning calling to the right side this time, and this is Brown, and Brown breaks away from a Burnett tackle, and that's the first down for the Colts. Dante Hughes came in that time on the corner blitz.
Sure did, Al. Right off the slot right there, just going to come in, and Peyton Manning is going to take a beating. They are at his feet. They are hitting him in the back, and the one thing that does to a quarterback is it speeds you up and creates issues down the road.
There's a gain of 15. Now the pass to the outside, and that's Tammy. And Tammy fighting his way for a first down. Oliver had his shirt, but that's all, and Tammy took him for a ride past the marker.
Sort of interesting. This is how they started the game. Just some of these throws out to the flat. He's out there working against Paul Oliver, and Oliver just forgot to get him out of bounds.
To the 45 now. Try the ground again. It's been the case all night long. Indianapolis with a total tonight of 16 rushing yards.
Well, these two defensive tackles are just wearing out the Colts inside. Antonio Garay, too much to handle inside right now.
2nd and 10. Back to the air to the outside. White scored a touchdown in the first half, and White to the 40-yard line. And a little slow in getting up. 16 yards tonight. 16 yards on 12 carries.
In all the interviews we've ever done with Peyton Manning, did you ever hear him say anything like he said to us the other night, like, we can't run the ball against these guys? You know, I mean, he knew going into the game they couldn't run the ball, so they were going to try and spread them out, run a little bit nickel, but I've never seen him sort of give up before the start of the game.
3rd and 4, and that pass is Wayne incomplete. Wayne backing up, looked like he had it just for a moment. Kaysen and Weddle right there, 4th and 4.
Isn't it interesting to watch Antoine Kaysen? He is the guy that, a little hold right there, got away with as well. But Antonio Cromartie was basically traded away, and that meant Kaysen was the guy under the microscope this season. And all they are right now is the #1 defense, so I think he's done all right. He wasn't nearly as good when they tried to play him over the slot, but outside he's done pretty well.
Well, 17 and a half to go, and they're going to line up to go for it on 4th and 4 from the 39. And they do go for it as Manning throws over the middle, and that is incomplete. The Colts turn it over on downs. Antoine Applewhite came in on the blitz that time, and San Diego gets the ball back.
You cannot win with guys hitting your quarterback when he's trying to throw the football. You have no chance. He's trying to step up, and the interceptions he's thrown's been like that. Look at him flinch. Could you see his face?
Sure.
His face is flinching before the hit even gets there. He's anticipating that he's going to get hit. That's the kind of night it's been, and that's what San Diego's been able to do to him over the years.
On the #1 defense, they lead the NFL in sacks and looking like it. Play fake. Out to Hester. And Francisco stops him. Second and 3, Nene in motion. To Tolbert. And Tolbert very close to a first down, just shy of the 50-yard line. Pressure tonight. Rivers has gone down twice. Then you take a look at Manning, 5 hits, 4 knockdowns, 2 batted balls, 3 picks.
Doesn't tell the story, though, does it?
No.
Peyton Manning came in here, I think, with a leading few 12 sacks. I didn't say that very well, but now he doesn't get hit a lot, or he doesn't get sacked a lot. Tonight he's been getting hit a lot, and it's been the difference in the game.
You didn't learn that in Gainesville, did you?
No, I didn't. Harvard in the South.
From the 49-yard line on first down. And Rivers is going to roll and buy time, and nobody's open, so he's going to look for the sideline, and he turns that into a nice little 8 or 9-yard gain.
You know, it's really been one of those games for Phillip Rivers that he really is sort of just tried to play within himself, too. This is a team that loves running the ball and throwing it deep, and to the best of my recollection, I can't remember him taking a single shot really down the field, a couple of crossing routes and some things like that, but never one where they've just tried the go route on the outside.
2nd and 1. And that's going to be a first down for Tolbert. He just keeps chugging along to the 34-yard line, and they will not have to run another play before the 4th quarter.
I loved this kid, Jacob Hester, this fullback. Watch him right here. Not only does he make big hits, but he sort of picks a side and creates running lanes. He knocks people down with his block. That time it was Pat Angrer trying to step up, and the little guy got underneath him.
And that will take us to the 4th quarter after 3 in Indianapolis before a stunned and pretty quiet crowd right now. San Diego 26 and Indianapolis 14. NBC Sunday Night Football continues after these messages. "12-point San Diego lead. 2 interceptions returned for touchdowns. 4 Nate Kading field goals. They're at the 36 of the Colts. And this is Tolbert. Tolbert doing a good job on the ground tonight. Rivers in this half. Rivers is 7 of 7 for 77 yards. It's a good come-out roll.
He really is something special, boy. You start looking at some of his numbers, what he's done in his career, averaging 28 points a game in his 74 starts. He has just been special.
Balanced, 21 runs, 21 passes. And it's caught, and that'll be a first down. And that is Randy McMichael, signed to supplement the tight end situation, 9th year out of Georgia. Points per game average, 75 starts. The first 75, you go back to Norm Van Brocklin in the 50s. And then Rivers, his team's averaging 28 points per game. And tonight is his 75th start. Of course, his defense has helped him get to the 26 mark tonight. First and 10 at the 20. Tolbert again, and he'll get dragged down from the rear. Tackle was made by Anger and Dawson, second down.
You know, the one positive, if you can say it, about the Colts defensively tonight is they're doing it with a lot of young guys in here. Watch Pat Anger here. Now, he probably would be the starting third linebacker right now on this team, even with Clint Session and Gary Brackett in there. Very, very high on him. They think that he covers the pass every bit as well as Gary Brackett, who is considered one of the best pass coverage linebackers around.
Brackett out with a toe injury. Second down and 8. Rivers protected well, pass caught over the middle and reaching for that first down and getting across the 10-yard line to the 9-yard line is Gates.
Well, we told you earlier if they'd start force feeding it to Gates a little bit, they would change how they play. Now, instead of dropping Angerer down the middle, they just stuck him inside one-on-one against Antonio Gates. Very quick release. You know, the comparisons to Dan Marino I don't think are too far off. He gets the ball out of his hands very quickly, Phillip Rivers does.
First and goal. Gates has caught 3 passes tonight. Rivers to Gates again, and his 4th catch takes him to the 2. So Gates playing through pain, missing a couple of games, both feet a problem, the toe, the plantar fascia. And if you joined us late, they got Vincent Jackson back tonight, but he got hurt, injured his calf in the first quarter, hasn't played since.
That time Marcus McNeil was starting to get crammed back into the quarterback by Dwight Freeney, and the little guy Darren Sproles kind of went in there and helped him out and pushed a little bit and got him stopped.
Second and goal. Tolbert, and he gets into the end zone for a touchdown. And for San Diego, that was huge, a touchdown instead of a field goal, because that makes it a 3-possession game, where field goal would have kept it a 2-possession game.
Yeah, once again, watch the fullback. Boy, they're becoming a dying breed, but Jacob Hester is going to be able to take on those charging linebackers, create the little cutback lane, and this big offensive line now starting to get the push. You see it so many times in the fourth quarter of the games. They start taking over.
Nate Kading for the point after with 11:26 remaining in the fourth quarter. The San Diego Chargers 33-14 over the Colts. Kading kick this time is a short one and fielded up at the 19-yard line, and James will bring that ball back out to the 35. Peyton Manning, not too often does he come out down by 19. A very unusual Sunday night, considering what you just saw. He's been under pressure all night. Manning starts at the 34-yard line, first down. 33-14, they're down. Send it back the other way, and San Diego is right there as Tammy cannot get away from Burnett.
Well, the obvious call is go screen when you can't handle the pass rush, but for Peyton Manning tonight, you can tell this pressure is getting to him. I mean, we have seen it on his face even before he's being contacted, that he's flinching a little bit and scrunching his face and anticipating being hit.
Manning stepping up. James underneath, the ball comes loose. It is picked up by the Chargers' Paul Oliver. And another turnover, and James can just bury his head in the turf.
Well, Javaris James got his leg pinned underneath him, and I'm sure he's in great pain. Watch this, his leg's going to get pinned right underneath him as he's getting tackled, and that's a position your body does not want to be in. And sometimes the last thing you're thinking about when that happens to you is where the ball is. Of course, they do a pretty good job ripping that thing out of there too, but the knee was not down.
Cooper and Hughes then comes in over the top of him. And James limps to the sideline, and San Diego with another turnover. That's 4 turnovers tonight from the 33-yard line. And Rivers sets up a backside screen. Hester close to a first down inside the 25-yard line. Tackled there by Wheeler.
What's the San Diego Chargers record again? Man.
4-0 in the last 4 games if they win tonight.
Yeah, this is one of those teams that, they've done it every year. It's almost hard to explain how they can start off so slowly every season. They made up 3 games, I think 2 years in a row. They were 2.5 games back this season, and they look like they're on schedule to do what they always do, make that late run.
2nd down and 1. Tolbert. But Chris, it's real simple. We talked about it early. Special teams. Special teams, you can lay 3 defeats totally at the feet of special teams. They lost to St. Louis. They didn't play well. Rivers got sacked 7 times. The New England game was a combination of turnovers and special teams. And what A.J. Smith needed to do, the general manager, and he's a tough guy, they had to clean up the players. Everybody wanted Steve Crosby, the coach, to get fired. But all he's done has been in the league for like 33 years. He's a pretty good coach, and there he is.
You mean the players have something to do with who wins and loses? I didn't know that.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Sometimes I hear people talking about it. I'm like, come on now.
And so you got to give Smith, and in San Diego, of course, he's a lightning rod. And AJ, he's a tough, very tough guy. Remember, they had McNeil out. They had Vincent Jackson out with contract squabbles and all of that. But somehow they were able to find the people they need. Now they've got, McNeil back. They got Jackson back at least for the start of the game tonight and hope to have him for the rest of the season. But they really cleaned up the guys they needed on the special teams. The special teams have been great over the last couple of weeks.
Well, one thing we know is that A.J. Smith is not going to bend to what people are writing and saying about him. We've seen that over and over this year with McNeil and Vincent Jackson. He's going to do what he thinks is right, and he doesn't care what anybody's saying.
So Rivers look up at the play clock, and he takes it all the way down, and there's a big hole for Tolbert. And when you look at a guy like Tolbert, keep in mind, here's a backup guy, because Ryan Matthews is the guy they traded up for to get him in the draft. He's been hurt. Tolbert had been playing some fullback, and what a job he has done in the past couple of weeks now out of the tailback spot.
Yeah, it helps if you got guys like Chris Dealman. Watch this one. Goodbye. Man, that is a finish right there. And on the outside, Randy McMichael, they are just dominating these linebackers inside. This Colts defense has been on the field a long time now.
Just about the halfway mark of the quarter. And I know that Indianapolis has had its share of San Diego. It's funny how teams match up, and despite the Colts' tremendous success in recent years, San Diego on its way to a 5th win in the last 6 games with these guys. Look, over the last decade, if you gave an Academy Award for out-of-division rivalries, clearly Patriots-Colts.
Yep.
But the supporting actor would be Colts-Chargers. I mean, these games have been great.
Well, and it's just so startling. I mean, we're so used to watching Peyton Manning and Reggie Wayne and these guys go up and down the field. And this defense has consistently stuffed them better than anybody has.
2nd and 6. Tolbert again. Takes the ball to the 5-yard line.
You know, Peyton Manning, for all the great numbers that he has, here's a guy that has a quarterback rating of 73 against the Chargers. Very pedestrian number against this one football team. And I thought the most consistent part of what they've done to him defensively is there is somebody around him at all time. They don't care if they're stumbling and falling at their feet. They want somebody impacting Peyton Manning on every play, and it's worked tonight.
Meanwhile, Rivers is 11 for 11 in this half. Sproles gets wrestled down by Bethea, but he takes the ball to the 2-yard line. So it'll be 4th down and 1 at that spot. And they look over toward the bench. Will Kading come out, or will they go for it here?
Watch a little fullback play here. I tell you, there's something about that guy. When he makes a block, people are on the ground. He just has a little knack to him. And I think Norv Turner doing the right thing here, don't you? Just keep piling those points on the board.
It'll still be a 3-possession game. I think Rivers wanted to go for it. The downside is you don't make it, you still pin Indy deep. Kading, meanwhile, will kick the field goal. That's a 20-yarder for him. And Nate Kading tonight with 5 field goals. 36-14. Colts. Not too many nights like this in Indianapolis, where the Colts have had such a dominant decade, but tonight getting their heads handed to them. 36-14. Kading to Brandon James. So plenty of experience running back kicks tonight, and again that Charger return coverage unit does its job. Been since December of 2002 since the Colts have trailed by this many points. Giants had a 25-point lead in a game back in the 2002 season. And on 1st and 10 now for the Colts, they start from the 21-yard line, and Chargers will give Indianapolis all of those that they want. Tammy makes the catch.
Well, pressure gets to everybody, and it has to Peyton tonight. Look at his face before contact even made on this throw. Applewhite's going to get to him, but you can see him flinching in this thing. I mean, that is clearly a guy that is expecting to get hit. Now, maybe he sees him out of the corner of the eye. I'll grant you that. But you generally see laser vision, and then we've got Stephen Cooper now limping off the field.
Yeah, he is the guts of that defense, and Manning looks like he's in an intersection ready to get broadsided. 2nd down and 4. Brandon Seiler comes in Cooper's spot. Manning will dump that underneath, and again it's juggled and incomplete. And among the problems for the Colts tonight, we all know about the interceptions and all of that, but you had Reggie Wayne dropping a pass, which you never see him drop, and he looked up as if the lights caused it. You had Manning overthrowing Garcon on what would have been a touchdown. And you had that call, of course, that will live in infamy here, at least overnight, or non-call on Weddle getting the interception. 3rd down and 4. There's Brown. Nowhere. And that number 1 defense playing like that number 1 defense. Go back to the Weddle play here. Here's Wayne going over the middle. Clearly Weddle hooks him. And in fact, the hooking helps Weddle get a better position on the interception, and away he went for a touchdown.
Yeah, and it was the Chargers game to that point anyway, but that one really turned the tide of it. And for a Chargers fan, the injury to Stephen Cooper has to be their biggest concern right now.
McAfee's kick. Sproles. And Sproles breaks away and gets it out to the 43-yard line with 4 minutes to play in the 4th quarter. And the Chargers ready to go to 6-5. First and 10, San Diego from the 41-yard line. You know, Chris, that defense for San Diego, you look at Ron Rivera taking over. #1 in the league coming in. Their only real issue the last couple of weeks, they've given up 2 opening drive touchdowns. Apart from that, they gave up that drive at the end of the first half tonight. But apart from that, pretty good.
Well, you know what's really impressive about Ron Rivera to me is that, you know, he came out of a 4-3 system in Chicago up there, and he comes here and he switches over, and he said one of the guys that he talked with was Wade Phillips, who sort of explained to him that, hey, at 34 is just a 4-3, and just different guys come and they're the 4th guy, you know. And he said once he put it in those terms, I kind of understood it, and he's been fantastic. What is he now interviewed for? 6 jobs, I think?
Right.
Eventually, he will be a head coach in this league.
Timeout call by Indianapolis. One of the more interesting aspects, too, is that Rivera was a hot prospect when he was coming out of Chicago, and then he winds up not getting any of the head coaching jobs and then getting fired in Chicago. And then he winds up going to San Diego. So when he was a guy who people thought might get a head coaching job, he winds up in San Diego, and at that point he was the linebacker coach. He wasn't even the defensive coordinator anymore.
Yeah, but it didn't take long, did it? And,
right.
At that time, I believe Ted Cottrell was the defensive coordinator. They were struggling a little bit, as San Diego always does in the first half of seasons, and then they brought in Rivera, and they say that he doesn't yell often, but when he does, you adjust whatever it is that you're doing out there. A former player in this league, played with the Bears, Buddy Ryan. He gets it.
He was on that 85 Super Bowl winning team, and now you've got a new back in the game, and this is Curtis Brinkley to the 50-yard line. Chargers, they're the kings of late season. November through January, regular season, the Colts had 17 straight wins, and the Chargers was 17 straight wins. And go back to the Oilers in the early days of the AFL with 16. And in the meantime, you've got Kelvin Hayden, who is hurt now for the Colts.
I tell you, that is a significant injury there. He has had trouble in the past couple of years trying to stay healthy. Here's Hayden right up here. But this year he has been there every start along with Antoine Bethea, and they have needed him because they have had injuries across the board in that secondary. Of course, Bob Sanders, the big one, Justin Tryon, Melvin Bullitt. All these guys have been in and out of the lineup. But it's been Kelvin Hayden, the guy that has been there the most consistently.
2 interceptions for him this year, and he ran both of those back for touchdowns, and he gets up to go back to the bench.
You know, the Colts just have to get their guys back. You know, there's just no other way to say it. I mean, they're not the same without Gary Brackett, who's the Peyton Manning of their defense. They're not the same without Clint Session, who is the explosive guys, without Bob Sanders, with, you know, one of the most exciting guys to watch in the league. They didn't put Bob Sanders on IR. They think he'll be back. And they certainly need to get Joseph Adai back, because this running game right now is just awful. It's just, there's no other way to put it. They're not competitive in the NFL.
Well, of course, San Diego looks over at Indianapolis and says, "Excuse me." Well, you think we haven't had a few injuries this year?
That's a good point.
Yep.
Good point.
Injuries, holdouts. And all coming together now for San Diego. It'll be 4th down and 1 here with 3:06.
I think Phillip Rivers is having a little fun in that huddle with these guys.
Yeah.
He loves it. I mean, this guy, he is energy in a bottle. He comes in the room and you're ready to go play. You know, I'm like, give me a helmet or something, man. He gets you fired up and ready to go.
4th and 1, Brinkley is the back. If they go for it. And they'll take the delay penalty. Colts 16 yards on the ground tonight. So way down, and again, that Charger defense, that Indy had those 2 drives. First one of the game, last one of the half. Apart from that, not much. You know, you're talking about Rivers, and you're right, because we've known him, you know, since he came into the league, and people look at him, he's very demonstrative. There he is. He loves to jaw with the other guys. And a lot of people would think, oh, maybe, you know, he's got anger issues or whatever. You know what, though? But it's, if you've been around him enough, and people that know him really well will tell you the same thing. He gets it. He gets it. He's a smart guy.
He competes is what he does.
Right, he competes, son of a coach. Fielded at the 12-yard line by James. Flag thrown. Back to the 17-yard line.
Personal foul, face mask, number 87, kicking team. The 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the run. First down.
It's Kelly Washington, one of the guys they picked up to shore up that special teams unit. Number 1 yards per game and yards per play. That defense, pass yards and yards per pass play. 32 sacks coming in tonight. 14 guys with at least 1 sack apiece. They have 1 sack tonight, and so NFL leaders in all of those categories, and come into Indianapolis, road game, a tough road game, a tough opponent, obviously, despite the injuries, in a place where the Colts almost never lose. And turn in this performance, and then that is caught inside the 25-yard line, or does he hold on to it? No. Reggie Wayne did not have possession through to the ground. Kaysen with the coverage on the play, and now Wayne's slow in getting up.
Yeah, it looked like as he went to the ground, the ball comes out, and I think the Chargers may be as shocked as anybody that Peyton didn't come out and take a knee. 1-2 coming down, and the ball's out. You know, sort of making that catch in the process of going to the ground, I think, is what they're going to end up calling. But speaking of competitive, those two guys haven't given up on anything, despite the fact that this game is well over.
So Reggie Wayne he's been the one guy that's been there week after week for Peyton. He's the last guy that Peyton could lose.
Well, here's the way the night's gone for Peyton Manning, and he's not going to end up with a lot of sacks in the game. And if you hadn't watched this one, you wouldn't understand the type of beating that he took out there. And it is effective, and it's almost entirely. It's easy to blame the offensive line, and they haven't had a great night today. And I don't want to say that, but it has been mostly because they can't run it at all. And Jeff Linkenbach has struggled. He's trying to make the transition to guard, but he's never played there. He doesn't know. He's doing the best he can, but they are hurting at the guard positions right now.
12 carries, 16 yards for the Colts composite lead tonight. 2nd and 10 from the 34. And again, that sure tackling and good coverage. Hughes is right there on Brandon James to stop him.
Well, and the flip side of this is that we're starting to see some depth out of Ron Rivera's bunch on the defensive side. Donald Strickland missed the game tonight, ordinarily nickel. Dante Hughes out there making that play. Steve Gregory missed it. Paul Oliver's played a nice game at safety.
3rd and 10, Manning. And there's another good tackle on the outside by Brandon Seiler, taking down Blair White. And that will make it 4th down and take us to the 2-minute warning in Indianapolis, where the San Diego Chargers are on the cusp of winning their 4th in a row, leading 36-14.
A couple of guys had good nights tonight as well. Marcus McNeil and Jeremy Clary. They more single blocks than most teams on the outside. And there's the smile from the Deion Sanders offensive lineman on the outside, Marcus McNeil.
We've done a bunch of Colts games through the years. I can't think of the times when we've had fewer mentions of Freeney or Mathis. It's almost like They weren't here.
Well, I'll tell you who was here, though, and that is the guy in the middle for the San Diego Chargers, and that's Antonio Garay. I didn't know much about this guy, and I put on the tape and started watching him. He dominated tonight. He almost single-handedly took away the running game of the Colts. Does a pretty nice job with his pass rush, too.
Champion wrestler back at Boston College. And that's Brown. And that's their best run of the night. For Jim Caldwell, it was a beautiful start last year. Took over for Tony Dungy and went 14-0. Then they gave up in those last 2 games against the Jets and at Buffalo, in 2 games that didn't mean anything. They went the perfect season. And now this season they're going to be 6-5 after this game. So that's 6 wins and 7 losses in the last 13.
And they don't win this type of game. They just don't. We used to see it with Tennessee coming in here, or Jacksonville, or teams that could really run the football. If you can turn it into a physical game with the Colts, you have a pretty good chance of winning, and nobody does that better than San Diego.
And that's White, and he'll make the catch and is inbounds at the 24-yard line. One other guy we need to acknowledge tonight is that Mike Tolbert, who had 26 carries for 102 yards. So that's 2 weeks in a row for Tolbert, filling in for Ryan Matthews as the #1 back. And they might not be able to dislodge him the way things are going.
Yeah, Ryan Matthews might be filling in for Mike Tolbert next time around.
And here's Manning throwing, and that's going to be picked off in the end zone. And that is Kaysen, who makes it 4 interceptions of Peyton Manning tonight.
Well, Brandon James going to take his shot. They'll just keep firing the ball down the field. But, you know, Peyton Manning, I said this about Eli last week, and I'll say it about Peyton too. There are a lot of guys that would have been over there sipping on Gatorade at this point in the game, and he's out there still firing, trying to do what he can do, and that one's going to be added to his stat sheet and his history against the San Diego Chargers.
He sees lightning bolts in his nightmares. Remember, he had that game on a Sunday night a couple of years back where he had 6 interceptions in a game at San Diego, and still they almost won the game. It was Vinatieri missing a 29-yarder at the end.
I'll tell you another impressive thing for San Diego tonight. They just swept the AFC South. There's only been one team to ever do that, and that was the 03 Patriots. So this is a team that, I don't know about you, Al, but they look pretty darn good to me. They could beat you a lot of ways.
Well, they stay a game back of Kansas City, and they'll get Kansas City at home in a couple of weeks. And meanwhile, Jacksonville says thank you very much to San Diego, because Jacksonville still tied now for first place, and Jacksonville, at least for the moment, owning the tiebreaker.